Welcome. This is actually our 6th class in our Prevention to Prosecution, Exploring the Many Faces of Fraud, Scam, and Exploitation series. Really glad you are here. My name actually is Christine. I am the Lifelines Program Director for Friends for Life. Friends for Life is an organization, a nonprofit organization that has now been in existence for 35 years. We have 7 different programs. We serve folks in about 82, I think it is now, counties, because we just gained another county. I think Jefferson County was the last. So not all of our 7 programs are there in all 82 counties, but one or another is in at least 82 of those counties. So 6 of the programs that we have at Friends for Life primarily are serving elderly and persons with some type of intellectual or developmental disability. Although my program, Lifelines, was the last that we had created, just a year. I've now been in existence for a year. I get calls about anything. So I take all of our intake calls. I provide case management and care consultations with whatever topic matter it may be, whether it's some dementia tips and techniques and strategies, or whether it's I need to find a new house, or whatever, all kinds of different things, as well as some speaking engagements, and of course putting together different types of educational events like this, where I bring in guest speakers about the topics that they are the experts in, and then of course a lot of information and referral. So that's a lot of what I do. Another piece of what we are looking at bringing into my role is scam, fraud, and exploitation services. And so this is also a learning experience for me so that I can better learn how to help other people. So I know some of you that have been here before have heard some of this, but I think it doesn't hurt to mention again that so many of the people that we do serve are suffering from some kind of isolation and or loneliness. And there are so many both psychosocial, physical, mental, different things that can occur, right? And start snowballing and affecting each other, and that downward decline can be pretty tremendous and hard to come back from. So all of the programs that Friends for Life offers combat isolation and loneliness in some way. So is there anybody in the room who has not had some type of, somebody's attempted, a fraudster or a scammer, attempted to reach out to you for you to become a victim of scam, fraud, or even exploitation? I don't think so. I mean, we've all, right? Well, it's also very easy even for us to actually accidentally fall victim, partially even, or in some way, right? Be tempted to open something we shouldn't or whatever. So how much more easy is it for people that are maybe elderly or have some type of an intellectual disability, right? That they are so much more easy to fall victim and are so much more targeted because they know that, right? So everything that we can do to help combat that is what we're all about. The National Center on Elder Abuse actually said that isolation and loneliness are well-established predictors of maltreatment and risk factors for abuse. Wow, that's huge, right? So I've got a whole thing I can talk about if anybody ever wants to know more about isolation and loneliness. It's awful. So I want to, before I go any further, introduce Casey Powers. Casey is with Right at Home Home Care, and so we've known each other for over a year. She reached out when she found out I was doing the 7-part series and said I'd love to do door prize and snack for each class, and so she has been doing that for us, each one of the classes. So thank you, Casey, and we'll draw for a door prize at the end. But Right at Home, as well as being a good partner, provides some really great services in the community, some home care services. And so if you need any other information about that for yourself or somebody that you know, it's a wonderful company with great staff and really provide a good service that's really needed in the community. So reach out to Casey or me about those things as well. So for those of you that have attended some of the other classes, wow, right? I mean, we've had some really great speakers. I promise tonight is not going to disappoint. Cybersecurity empowerment and more, I should have called it, by Detective Matthew McCallister. So I did some research on my own,
right.
And according to a 2023 study done at National University, they said cloud environment intrusions increased by 75% over the past year. Wow, I had to reread it. I'm a cloud environment intrusions. It's like, I don't talk like that, right? But I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Also, the potential for malicious actors to exploit generative AI for highly targeted and convincing attacks raises significant security concerns. However, I also learned in some of this, because I'm not a huge AI fan, so I also, though, learned that there is an argument for AI in terms of it being utilized to analyze huge amounts of data and identify complex patterns and proactively detect potential threats, they said, in real time. And I'm like, yay. So yeah, that's a coin toss. So we're going to hear about all of these things tonight. I am honored and pleased to introduce Sergeant and Detective Matthew McCallister. He's the Criminal Investigations Division and over the Assault and Financial Crimes Unit at Waco PD. He's been with Waco PD for over 21 years, and he also has worked in patrol and digital forensics, and he currently supervises the Assault and Financial Crimes Unit, as well as co-managing a computer forensics laboratory.
That's what I used to do in digital forensics.
See? Told you, I've been doing some research too. And so he has, though, made a really strong impact in our community and regarding the safety of our community. He's also received several meritorious awards, conduct awards, right, and stuff like that. He saved a human life. I mean, like, he's bigger than life. He's a hero, right?
Superman.
I know. Should have worn a cape instead of a suit coat. So with that, empower us.
Well, thanks. That was a great introduction there. Most of it's true. So I'm about a week shy from 22 years with Waco Police Department. So I've been there in a variety of roles. So I started off in patrol, and I did about 9 years in patrol. Went to digital forensics, where I did investigations on the backup investigations, mostly on digital devices. So breaking into cell phones, analyzing, digital video, doing things like that. I did that for about 10 years. And then for the last 2 years and about 3 months, I've been supervising the Assault Financial Crimes Unit. So one of the things I noticed when I came to the unit is we try to look at things as traditional policing things, traditional detective things. A crime happens, we respond, we take a report, we try to catch bad guy. Well, in this day and age, we have people overseas that are targeting us online, people, so we can't just go to India and arrest somebody. We can't go to another country and arrest somebody in most cases. So I think the educations like these are very important, and spreading the information out is very important to preventing these crimes. Some of my expectations for this presentation, this is for y'all. So if we need to dive into a specific target more than I have on a slideshow, we can talk about it. We can openly discuss any of the topics that I'm going to bring up. If you have a question, let's just talk back and forth. We don't have to raise hands or wait till the end. I do have a section at the end for questions, but if something comes up and you're like, hey, can we dive into this a little more? Just let me know and we'll talk it through. So we have time to do all that. So some of the objectives we have for this evening, we're trying to reduce incidents of fraud, the consequences of those frauds, educate y'all on how some of the frauds are occurring, learn some cybersecurity measures. We're going to talk about one of Christine's favorite topics here, phishing, smishing, and vishing. And the terminology isn't that important, but she loves smishing, and she quizzes everyone I think she comes in contact with about what smishing is, and she likes to be the smartest person in the room, which she is a lot of times. So we're going to talk about artificial intelligence and how it kind of plays a role in fraud. And then I have a kind of a fun video too that we'll just watch for fun. And then we'll talk about spoofing emails and phone contacts. So some of the most common digital frauds: tech support scams, romance scams, work from home job offers, and marketplace scams. And I know y'all went over some of these in the last session with Michael, but I kind of want to give the Waco PD take on some of these. And if y'all have questions, something that wasn't covered or something you want more information on, please let me know. So tech support scams, these usually start your browsing, trying to go to Amazon.com, or you put Amazon.com or something, you mistype the URL, this pops up. This is scary. You think your computer's locked. The only thing you have for help is this 1877 number here. Well, you call that number. Are you calling Microsoft tech support? No. You're calling someone usually in India that is going to try to maliciously attack your computer. So how these work, like I said, you receive a pop-up. The number that you call, that 1877 number or whatever the number may be, takes you directly to a scam center. Hey, how are you doing?
Great.
Good. Did you sign up for the door prize?
Oh, I did not.
Yeah, make sure you get that. So what they're doing is they're trying to get access to your computer remotely. Once they do that, they have the keys to the kingdom. They can black out your screen to where you can't see what they're doing, and they'll say something like, I'm restarting your computer just so I can see what functions start up. So they go to a black screen, and while they're in there, they're going to chase.com, bankofamerica.com, looking at your browser history, going to your Facebook. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll run a fake scan, and it'll show you have these many people connected to your computer. Well, it's them connected to your computer that they're showing you. And what they'll do is they'll say, hey, $1,500, we'll give you this virus security package, and you won't have any problems in the future. Well, you don't have a virus, you don't have a problem, you just went to the wrong website to start with. The best thing is if you see one of those pop-ups, and we're going to go over that here in the next slide. So after they do the fraud, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll call back, and they'll say, man, I'm really sorry. It's been weighing heavy on my heart that I scammed you out of this money. I want to send it back to you. And so they'll ask for remote access again. They're going to go to your banking app, open it up, and you can edit anything on a web page, right? So it's just a text document on this web page. They'll edit it and they'll say, I scammed you out of how much? $2,000? Okay, let me put that back. And they'll say, I'm transferring the money now. You should see it pop up in a second. And they're going to edit it to look like they gave you $20,000. Well, then they're going to say, I'm going to get fired. I'm in trouble. I'm going to lose my job because I just sent you too much money. And so they're going to use your sympathy for them to say, hey, you need to send me this $18,000 difference and we'll make it right. That money was never in your account. That money never existed. It's just them editing a web page to make it look like you had $20,000 taken. So some of the preventative measures, Microsoft and other tech companies, they're never going to solicit a phone call from you. I mean, I've had Windows for 38 years or so, and they've never once asked me to call them. They're legitimately not going to ask you to call them. If you do feel like you have a problem with your computer and you need to call Microsoft, find a legitimate number for them. Don't call any number from a pop-up ever. And then if you just close the web page and you want to go back to where you were trying to go, just make sure you're typing it in right, and then it should function normally, usually in that case.
So is information that like Google and Bing and things like that have, I mean, that's going to be pretty accurate, right?
What's that?
Like if you're looking at.
Yeah, if you Google like Microsoft,
Yeah.
usually it's going to be like an online contact, and you can contact them online without having to even make a phone call. So romance scams, this is usually kind of a thought-provoking one, but we're going to go over how they work, some of the common lies that they're going to say, and then how to protect against them, and some of the statistics on financial loss related to romance scams. So I know some of this might be small, and I apologize, but basically how they work is a scammer, they'll create a profile, and they'll usually be whatever you're attracted to, they'll be that. So if you're attracted to young white males, they're going to be a young white male. If you're attracted to whatever you're attracted to, they're going to make a creation that looks like that. It's going to be usually it's a famous person. They'll pretend to be an actor. They'll pretend to be something along those lines. And they're just going to start talking to you. You make a post on Facebook. They say, hey, I like your profile. Love to chat. Love to talk to you. You end up talking, accept them as a friend. They start building that relationship, building trust. They're there every day. Hey, how's your day going? Was everything okay today? Was work good today? And we all kind of like to have someone that we can just kind of confide in and talk to, and they're there for a month or so, and then all of a sudden, they'll start asking for money. And some of the lies I'm going to go over in the next slide, but one thing to look out for here, and this is the red flag, is weird payment types. So if they ask for money, if a friend asks for money, hey, Venmo me the money, or I'll see you in person next week, can you give me $20? These people are going to ask for gift cards or wire transfers or mailing U.S. currency in a box is one we see quite frequently. So if you see a weird payment method, even if it's from someone that you think you know, verify with them. So, and these are small again, I apologize, but yeah.
Like, are there some common payment apps or sources or whatever that typically you know are fraudulent that people use or not? Like, we know you said like Venmo and PayPal, things like that are pretty safe, but is there anything that you know that you see that's not a safe one?
So,
or not really?
Safe and untraceable, I guess we'll delineate, because safe, all apps can be safe if you're sending it user to user, but a lot of them are going to use Cash App because you can use a generic username. I can make my username $Big Matt, and you just ask for money that way. And so it can kind of veil their actual identity. So when you sign up for an app like Venmo, it wants personal information, right? And some of the apps don't require as much personal information, so it makes it harder to determine who's actually behind the account, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So these are kind of some of the lies that they use. Someone close to me is in jail, they're hurt, or they got deported and I need to get them back into the country. One of those is a popular one. Or, hey, I have a great investment opportunity. Send me $1,500 and I'll turn it into $20,000 in a couple months. I'm in the military far away and I really want to visit. I just need money and time for my time off and for airfare to come visit you. Or I need help with an important delivery. We've never met, but let's talk about marriage.
I believe that's at 12%.
12%, or yeah, we've never met, but let's talk about marriage. So that's one of the big things. Like, I mean, you want to get married, you want to get that love going, you want to get that relationship stronger and go beyond just a friend I talked to for a month and go into a romantic relationship. Or I've come into some money, but it's locked up. I need help getting it out. So I won a lottery and I need to pay taxes on it. Send me $12,000 and I'll split my winnings with you, something along those lines. Another one, and I don't know why it's only at 6%, we see this one a lot. I'm in Houston on an oil rig, and maybe it's just because we're in Texas. Hey, how are you? But I'm on an oil rig. I really have bad internet connection. I need money sent to, usually it's a family member or a friend who's in trouble, and they'll give you a generic Cash App or ask for a gift card or something along those lines. And then private pictures, we all know that can get you into the blackmail area. Nancy?
I'm just thinking of all these dreams.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. So you send a picture that you don't want your family member to see, or your niece or your nephew to see. They say, hey, I'm going to send that picture you sent me and use that to blackmail you out of money.
So are you seeing as many? Because wasn't it a thing for a while? It was the whole somebody's in jail. We need.
Yeah, that was number one.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was the first one.
That's number one on there actually. So it's got 24% of these sick, hurt, or in jail. Come on in. Yeah, sure. Come on in.
Is it connected to our internet?
No. Hopefully we don't have dial-up. So some of the ways to protect against these is never send money if you haven't met the person in person. So if you don't know who they are and you can't physically go to their house or know where they live and met them in person, don't send them money ever. Verify their identity. So, and I put the web address up here, the images.google.com. If you go to their profile picture, you can put it in, you can save their profile picture and scan it in there and just drag and drop it into images.google and it'll show if anyone else is using it as a profile picture. And so a lot of times they're going to a famous person, they're just putting in attractive white male, 30 to 40 years old, and then they're going to a profile and just, taking all their photos off of a public profile. So that'll help as well to verify, like, hey, do you have 14 Facebook accounts with this? That's unusual, right? Yeah, it's a lot. So don't share things that you wouldn't share with a stranger. That's what I always say for online. If I'm walking down the street and I encounter somebody, I'm not going to give them my PIN number to my bank card. I'm not going to give them my social security number. And kind of use that same, everyone's a stranger online, right? So use that.
So
And
it just gave us permission to stalk people on Google.
absolutely. As much as you'd like to. So, and another thing is reporting the fake profiles, right? So it's one thing if you get contacted by a scammer or by someone who's not who they say they are, but they're doing that to other people too. You're not the only person they're trying to target, right? They're shotgun approach, trying to target as many people as they can. So report it to social media, and they'll look at the chat logs and they'll see, hey, they're grooming 15 people at the same time trying to get their information. Christine?
Yeah, I just didn't even think about reporting that, because I'm always, whenever I'm, so many times now, right, you make a post and somebody's like, somebody that you don't know, oh, friend me, because I just think everything you do is amazing, right? You
Yeah.
can report that?
Yeah, absolutely. So through Facebook, through the Facebook app or through Instagram, you can flag it, you can block, or you can block and report. So if you block and report, you can just put details, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to lose money or anything to report it through Facebook. You can just be like, hey, this was suspicious, they were asking personal information, and then they'll look at that user's chat logs and usually ban them.
Oh, nice.
And that's why a lot of times if you're on Facebook Marketplace selling something and you look at the person who's trying to buy from each profile, it was created like yesterday. And so you're like, because they keep getting accounts banned over and over and over again, and that's one way to promote them.
And would that work if someone were trying to buy something on Marketplace too?
Absolutely, yeah. So if someone's selling something, and we'll get into Facebook Marketplace next actually, and I have some tips on there. So these are some of the stats here. And I apologize, some of these are old, but it's really hard to get up-to-date stats on these. But so let's look at these numbers here. In 2019, seniors, and they classify seniors federally as 55 and older. So 55 and older people to romance scams in 2019 lost $84 million. 2021, it went up to $300 million. 2022, we're getting in the billions. And this year, it's around 13.7 billion year to date. That's just through the FTC and FBI website combined. So this is taking a lot of money out of our economy and sending it to wherever these people are. And that's why I think this one's really important. And I mean, we are looking for love, right? But make sure they're a real person. So the average loss was $2,500 per case. And that's consistent with what we see. Our average is around $2,500. So just at Waco PD. The FTC got 32,000 reports filed with them in 2020. And I think that's up to 68,000 year to date, which it's a lot of people.
Which incidentally, some of the handouts that you're getting are from the Federal Trade Commission.
Yeah, some of the handouts you
So
printed
that's
out.
some of those, like the first one I gave you, that's all Federal Trade Commission stuff.
Yeah, and this is kind of the trend of how it's gone. So 2018, 2019 kind of stagnant, 2020 went up a little bit, and then really since COVID, it's because we can't go out to the club and meet somebody, we can't go to the grocery store and meet somebody. Everyone's, if you go to the grocery store now, everyone's in their cart pushing along, right? They're not as social, we're not as social as a nation as we used to be. And so I think that's contributed greatly to these numbers going up, and I don't know what happened. Oh, it timed me out. Apologize for that. It's a little technical error there. So, like I said, it's gone up, especially since COVID. It's just skyrocketed. And this year, 2023, I think it was 3.7 or 3.8 billion. And then this year, we're already up to almost 14 billion total, which is just a crazy number. So the next thing, any questions on that? About the? I know, it's terrible. So, and I was talking.
And then they're compounded with, they got scammed.
Yeah, I know, it's terrible. And a lot of times what we're seeing is, so a family member a lot of times will have power of attorney and see, monitor the money of their loved one, and they'll talk to their loved one and they won't believe them. I've had people take their grandmothers to the police department. I've talked to them face to face. Had one poor lady who was she thought it was a Turkish actor that she was talking to. And he was trying to get her to go to his show in Turkey. And so, $12,000, $13,000 she'd sent over a 2-year period. And she's, yeah, and I'm talking face to face to her, and I'm wearing a badge, a gun, in a police department, and she's still saying, "It's my money. I believe he's real. I don't believe you." And you get so caught up into it because you're so much of your existence is based on this being real, because you're lonely. You want it so bad. You want it to be true, and so it's hard to break that cycle. Any more questions on the romance scams, or anyone want to share an example?
We actually,
I know.
friends
Friends for Life all that long, and one of our other programs I mentioned is money management. And so I remember in the foyer, I could hear somebody had come in and wanted to talk to their money management agent that we had, the specialist there that was managing the money. And this went on for at least 45 minutes. It was one of the things like in India, right? And she just knew that this was a long lost relative, you know, and she inherited all this money. And so she had to send them a certain amount of money. She was so angry that our money management specialist would not turn loose of some of her money to send over there, to where she was hollering and cussing and finally walked out, and the specialist walked out with her. And she kept trying to tell her that, you know, do you actually know this name? You know, and you know, it's a text message, and you know, all the different reasons why. And she just was not going to understand. She wasn't going to believe it. And
Did y'all have a banker do a track here?
I'm sorry?
Did y'all have any banks do a track in this session? Anyone from a
Yes.
bank?
American Bank. Brad
Okay.
Hamer with American
Okay.
Bank.
So we work a lot with TFNB, and they're really amping up their fraud prevention and fraud detection. They're using AI a lot to do it. But the problem they have is the user, right? So we're making a decision, and as a bank, it's very hard to restrict someone from taking out their own money. I mean, because then you have the trust issue. If I go to the bank and I can't withdraw $3,000, I don't want to answer 30 questions. You know what I'm saying? So it's a hard balance to achieve, I think. So we're working with them a lot, and they're having good progress with preventing it. So work from home scams. I know a lot of us, as we retire, we're looking for let's make a couple bucks. Let's do something. Let's just keep our mind active, right? So we're going to talk about some of the job postings, the application process, how forged checks kind of play a role in it, and I'll have a couple examples there. And then instructions they'll give you, and fund reversals. So the biggest red flag is high pay. So I'm not going to pay you $60 an hour to do something that I can go do myself. And that's what a lot of them are. A lot of them, so like if you go to Indeed.com and just type in work from home, that's one of the keyword searches that you can do on Indeed.com. It'll pop up $15 to $60 an hour. And there's no way you're going to make that sitting at home, right? So one of the popular ones we see here locally is a mystery shopper. So they're saying, hey, look, we're testing out I just opened, let's say Walmart. I opened a Walmart at New Road in Franklin, and I need someone to go test this new system we put in. So we put a Western Union money transfer system in that we need you to test. We'll pay you $1,500 a day to go test this. So what they do is they send you a check. So you'll get a $20,000 check in the mail, and you go deposit in your bank, and they say, hey, use $15,000, wire it to me, and then keep $5,000. And that's your pay. That's your pay for doing this for me. So you go, you do that, and you wire transfer the money to the account. They say everything's good. The next day, another check comes. You do the same thing. Well, about 14 to 18 days later, all these checks get reported as fraudulent. And so all that money now you're responsible for. So your account is now negative, however much money they sent you, and it's creating a problem. Another thing is a personal assistant. They'll say, hey, we are trying to buy all the iTunes gift cards that they have at Walmart, and we need you to go help us out. And they do the exact same thing. They send you a check for $20,000, and all you do is, all your job is to scratch out the back of the gift card and give us that. Well, and it's theirs. And so you have a fake check in your bank account that's going to get you in trouble. And then now you're a suspect in a forgery because you have a forged check that's bouncing in your checking account. And then the same thing as a cryptocurrency investor. So have y'all seen the Bitcoin ATMs? I know they did a cryptocurrency track 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
2 weeks ago. So basically, I'll just kind of briefly go over it, but Bitcoin ATMs, they'll accept cash and turn it into digital currency right there. So essentially for y'all, that's a paper shredder. You just shredded however much money you put in there. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it. But they're doing that. They're saying, hey, we just need a crypto investor, put money into this wallet, and it's usually the same method. It's almost always a forged check that they'll mail you, and it'll be a large value check. I had one this week that was $63,000, and their bank account's negative whatever they had minus the $60,000.
I do have a slightly different spin on that story.
Yeah.
A year and a half ago, I was looking for another job, and I all of a sudden found myself falling for a recruitment scam, very similar. But I had not retired and was looking to pick up some extra money. I was literally looking for another job. And the pay, while it was good pay, it was not that.
Not outrageous.
It was not anything at all like what I wouldn't maybe be expecting anyway. But, I mean, it was a little more, but not that much more. But, so I think and I never talked to a real person. They told me that it was by a text message. And that they had, I think you're going to talk some more about LinkedIn and stuff later or not? Or is
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, they'd seen my resume on LinkedIn because I had been applying for jobs. It was not a job I'd actually applied for, but I didn't even catch that right away. So, but then the person said, but our company uses ChatWorks to communicate, so you need to download ChatWorks. And so I had never heard of it. I did that. And then these communications kept going back and forth, and it was believable enough. You
Sure.
know, the grammar was correct and all those kinds of things that I continued, to see and, outline the different things of the job. And so I think what would have happened, I had told them where I bank, but I had not given them any account information. And I finally said, and they're like, well, you've got the job and blah, blah, blah. And started listing all kinds of equipment that I was going to need to work from home, and so I think then the next thing was going to be is I was going to have to go get this equipment, and they were going to send me a reimbursement check, or I was going to have to, I don't know, however it would have worked.
Sure.
Right? I didn't follow it through. I said, I'd really like to talk to a real person just to make sure. Or a person on the phone, even if it's for 10 minutes, just to make sure that there's no misunderstanding in, written communication. And then it was just crickets. I've never heard another word. As soon as I really wanted
Well, you ended up calling the actual legitimate business, right? And
well, yeah.
this is the one in Oklahoma that.
That was
Yeah.
one of them. Because then there are so many. I did not
Yeah.
know that. But all of a sudden I started looking, this looks kind of similar to what that was. And sure enough, there was one I actually, I looked up the name of the company that they said that they were reaching out to me from, and it was actually a company in Oklahoma. And so I thought, well, maybe he's expanding into Texas. You don't know, right? And he had his office number and his cell phone number on the website. So I called the office number. I got an answering machine, so I called his cell number, and he answered, and he was at lunch. And he said, how did you get my number? And I said, well, because you reached out to me because you are, hiring somebody in Texas? And he said, no, I'm not. I am so sorry. He said, I got all of a sudden flooded, like within minutes, just hundreds of emails coming to him responding to an email that he had never sent. And so somebody had hacked his information apparently, and who knows what they were going to do with it. So anyway, and he said, I'm not expanding into Texas. I'm sorry. So, yeah, but there were a lot of them at that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very similar.
For sure. And there still are these online job sites. They don't really do any filtering at all. So if I create an account on Indeed.com and say I'm looking for somebody, there's no verification process usually.
And that was, I actually said to a friend, I said, if it's from Indeed or LinkedIn, you would think, I was thinking for some reason it would be legitimate.
Yeah, and Indeed's gotten a lot better, but there's so many. If you Google job sites now, there's just hundreds of sponsored links that come up when you Google it. So all those aren't vetted. Indeed's gotten a lot better, but they're the reason we call this the Indeed scam. Because they were used almost exclusively for that.
There you go.
So some of the things we'll talk about these is once you apply, you're immediately hired, right? There's usually a process if you get hired at a legitimate job that takes time, and it's not a one phone call and yep, you're hired, let's start tomorrow. So they require you to open a new checkings account or savings account a lot of times, and then they'll ask you for bank details, and it's usually your real account, and so they can verify that the money's not going into your real account. So the forged check, we talked about it a little bit, but this is kind of how we usually get involved. So I'll tell you about a case I had this week. So Illinois, a victim in Illinois calls in and says to the Illinois Police Department, it was a small agency in Illinois, and says, I just got a notification from my bank. I had 2 checks cashed from my savings account that doesn't even have a checking account. I don't even have checks for that account. I've never had a check for that account. And they were like, one was $63,000 that went through. One was $84,000 that they flagged because I didn't have that much money in my account. And so the detective there gets a subpoena for the bank information, says, hey, this suspect's in your area, can you look into it? So I look into it, look up the suspect. Suspect is, I think she's 68, no criminal history, been a victim of a couple crimes in Waco, never been arrested, got 1 speeding ticket like 10 years ago, no criminal history. And I'm like, this is weird to go from, 68 years of life to not committing a crime to now you're, $63,000, $84,000 checks you're cashing. So I call her and I'm just going to call her and see what she says. And she was like, no, I got a new job as a crypto analyst. And I'm like, well, what does a crypto analyst do? And she was like, well, I was looking online for a job to work from home just to make a couple extra bucks to supplement my Social Security. And she was like, the first job I went to, they called me and they said, hey, we're going to send you a check, and all you do is you go to this Bitcoin ATM and all you do is cash the check, withdraw the funds, and put it in a Bitcoin ATM, and it'll go into our wallet. And we're just trying to diversify our investments and get as many people doing this as we can. And so she, hook, line, and sinker, did it. Well, next week, all those funds are going to be gone.
She didn't know anything about Bitcoin or any of that stuff.
No, had no idea. Had no idea what cryptocurrency was at all. So and y'all are, I guess, are a little bit educated on it from the ones y'all went to 2 weeks ago.
A lot of the folks actually weren't here.
Okay. Okay, so does anyone need cryptocurrency, does that mean anything to you? You're invested?
No.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, and I have as well, but I mean legitimately. But so cryptocurrency, just kind of a brief overview, it's digital currency that has no intrinsic value. So there's things called a blockchain that go across the network. So every computer that's connected to this network keeps track of a ledger, and it keeps track of who has what Bitcoin, and it has ebbs and flows just like a stock market, but it's not based on sales or based on anything. It's just digital currency based on interest. And so now a lot of gas stations are putting in Bitcoin ATMs so you can transfer conventional currency to digital currency. And that's fine if you're legitimately investing, but this has become a huge tool for scammers because they just send somebody to a Bitcoin ATM, they deposit money, and that's why I said earlier it's like a paper shredder. Because you put that money in there and it is gone. You're never gonna see it again. It's in somebody else's digital wallet. And so it's huge in scam. Very hard to track, yeah. So the problem is that it's just, there's no bank. I can't subpoena.
Brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Just in the computer.
Yeah, it's just in the air. So, and unless they interface with another Bitcoin ATM, it's very hard to even track because the Bitcoin ATM doesn't have any stake in Bitcoin or any stake and Bitcoin is the most common cryptocurrency, so I usually use that. There's others as well, but so they don't have any stake in Bitcoin. They don't have any interaction with Bitcoin. All they're doing is transferring your money into this wallet that you told it to go to. And the wallet, who knows who owns it? And there's no way I can't subpoena Bitcoin. Like if a check is cashed at Bank of America, I can subpoena them. I can get the video, I can get the bank transactions, I can get a description of the person, I can get the ID they presented. I can get all that with a subpoena. But Bitcoin, there's no one to subpoena. And so scammers love this because it's not traceable, it's not interactable, and I don't know where they cash it out from. So
It's really scary.
it is scary, and that's why I always, even though there was a track on cryptocurrency, I always like to kind of add that into these as well, just because it's a huge tool. If you ever hear someone say, yeah, just put the money in a Bitcoin ATM, that should be the biggest red flag, and you know you're dealing with a scammer, because I'm not gonna ask you to go, even if I need $50, I'm not gonna ask you to put it into a Bitcoin ATM machine. So there's no legitimate purpose for putting it in someone else's Bitcoin ATM.
Are certified cryptocurrency traders, is that a real title that somebody?
You can make any title you want.
That answers that question.
So have you all ever seen the show Shark Tank? There's a similar one on Netflix that's just cryptocurrency. And so it's people pitching ideas for cryptocurrency on how to do that. It's kind of a good watch if you are interested in that. But
So how do you find one that's legitimate? Because you said you have something legitimate.
so if you're buying it for yourself and you have control of the digital wallet that it's going into,
Okay.
then that's fine. It's kind of like playing the stock market, right? It's in your name. You have control of the wallet. It's kind of like if you go to an ATM with someone else's debit card and you put their debit card in and put your money in, it goes into their account. Yeah, so it's the exact same thing except for there's no account. It's just their wallet. So there's no nothing to go back with because it's.
So was the 68-year-old woman arrested for forgery?
No, she wasn't. No.
You didn't know.
No, so what we do, and I haven't done it yet on this case, but typically what we do is follow up with them and see where they were solicited from for if it was Indeed or if it was something like that. And we'll go in and we'll flag those accounts and get those accounts taken off. But it's so easy to create. I think it's $4.99 a month to have a hosting on Indeed.com. And so, I mean, they're going to create another one. And I think that's where it comes back to education is key for this. And red flags really kind of stick out to me, and Christine will make fun of me, but so I put little red flags throughout, and I'll summarize the red flags at the end of the presentation. But she calls me cheesy, but
There's the expression, if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't.
yeah, I have that in a slide actually. So coming up, yeah, absolutely.
I just want to say
Yes, ma'am.
something to everybody because this happened to us. And it's very frightening because what the people said to us was there was someone at our bank who was trying to take our money. And we had been at the same bank for like 25 years. And they said, don't go in there and tell them because they are the ones that are trying to take your money. And it wasn't true, of course.
Sure.
They were trying to, and it was in the many, many thousands they were trying to get us for, and it was terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually asked for the Waco police to meet us at the bank because I thought they were gonna come to the parking lot and do something to us. And it turned out that there was another lady, we bank in China Spring, and they threatened to go to her house and assault her.
Wow.
She didn't have a husband. They threatened to go assault her if she didn't do this. I mean, that's scary.
That is very
To
scary.
think someone's gonna come to your house and get you.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a difference between the scamming and when you start using threats.
Yes.
And a lot of times they'll send pictures of like murdered people or send graphic content and things like that just to you don't know who you're messing with type thing. And that's usually after I'm surprising that it went that way, but usually that's after the first scam. So a lot of times what we see is they'll kind of get you on the hook and then they're like, hey, if you stop doing this, then this is what's going to happen to you, and they'll send that picture. A lot of things that we're seeing now, and I've been working with TFNB like I said earlier, is they're coaching you on what to say when you go to the bank because they know what questions TFNB is going to ask you. So TFNB is going to be like, is this cash for a family member or friend? Is this cash for purchasing a new vehicle? What is the purpose of this transaction? And they'll say, my kid needs a truck, my wife needs a truck, and this is for the large values usually. And they'll have everything delineated down. This is exactly what I need this money for. This is what I need this money for. This is what I need this money for, and it'll pass their little checks. And so they're constantly reverse engineering all the safety measures that we've put in. So they're evolving just like we are.
Are things like what she just described a little bit easier for you to get an arrest or to stop than the others?
Typically on those they are. Usually that's someone local, and usually there's a quick payout to another bank account or transferring to a bank account with those. A lot of what we're seeing now is mailing the money. And so if we get a physical address, we can work with whatever jurisdiction that's going to get mailed. And we've had a lot of those get stopped. So we had actually a police employee's mother sent $144,000 in a mail, just in the post.
Oh my God.
And she had been scammed several times before, and she sent it. Luckily, we were able to stop the truck. So I actually ended up calling, getting a search warrant, sending it to FedEx, And I actually ended up talking on the phone with the FedEx driver, and he was like, I've never had this before. What do you need? And I'm like, well, here's the address. The package is about this big. It should be, here's the tracking number. And he went back to the back of his truck, and he was like, I got the package. I haven't delivered it yet. We're good.
Awesome.
And so we got it. It was in Detroit, Michigan, and we ended up getting it back. So thank God. But that's another thing about.
McCallister, go!
Huh?
You do need a Superman's cape.
No.
Good job.
No, I'm just doing my job.
That's
but
amazing.
no, so the thing is timeliness, because if this would have been reported to me 30 minutes later, an hour later, that money would have already been gone.
Yeah.
So reporting quickly is a huge part in that, as well as for solvability. And like with these, this is where it's really hard, because now this person was scammed in Illinois. Well, it took a week for the report to get typed there, a week to get assigned to a detective. The detective had to wait for a subpoena. Then they sent it to me. Well, this happened, I think it was August 23rd, somewhere around there. And so 2 months, I'm not going to be able to get video. I'm not going to be able to get any of that. And if I can, I see an elderly person usually going in there. Hey, how are you? I grab a mint. I go up. I give you my ID. I'm cordial. I'm friendly, because I'm just doing my job, right? So that's where the prosecution becomes hard, and we have to kind of reverse engineer it back to back to back, and there's multiple layers a lot of times. Yes, ma'am.
So question, we're talking elderly or older people. Are we just more gullible?
No, you're just targeted.
Okay.
So
I feel gullible. I believe people. You know, I mean, I don't know if that, when somebody says something, I trust them.
we were raised that way,
Exactly.
and that's the difference. Generationally, you know, respect your elders, respect everyone, treat everyone as your neighbor.
But you didn't have people cheating you.
Absolutely,
That
yeah.
was the thing, and nowadays it's anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah, it used to be, hey, stay away from Jack on the street corner. He's selling snake oil, right? I mean, we went from that to now we have people in other countries cyber attacking us to get information. Yes, ma'am.
Isn't there a difference in saying that someone is gullible as versus, I have the word a lot.
Trustworthy.
Not educated?
No.
People?
Oh, I have
It'll
the
come
right.
to you.
Yeah.
Tech savvy? No?
Well, finish your thought.
Yeah, go ahead.
Come up with the word.
Well, it
Other
was
words.
just that, she was asking, does that mean elderly people are more gullible? It may just be that they're,
We really trust people.
Overly trusting in others.
Yes, and it's not that we're gullible, it's just that we haven't been educated in some of this stuff.
exactly,
Right.
something to that.
Yeah.
Well, and usually you have a little bit of a nest egg too. So if I target a 20-year-old who's $40,000 in debt and has $13 in their account, and is, you know, they're working together.
Been on their truck for
Yeah.
another 10 years.
Yeah, they're waiting for a DoorDash order that took every penny they had to order. What am I going to get from them? I mean, I could probably scam them as well, but I'm not going to waste my time on that. So I'm going where there's money, and cognitive decline does play a role in it. I mean, we all, as we age, we all cognitively decline, but I think it's just mostly you're trusting, you were raised differently than these people. A lot of times, and we're seeing it less and less, but I mean, there's people that are in their 70s and 80s that are tech savvy and doing crazy things, making awesome PowerPoints, doing, you know, incredible things. So
Stereotypical, but still,
Yeah.
generally, I think many of us are, because of how we were raised, when we went to school, the environment period, we trusted people if they said something, and they would carry through, and they do it.
sure, yeah,
Well, that's when we could go to the bank and borrow money on a handshake,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Just
it
sign your
was
name.
just a really different world.
yes,
The
ma'am.
word I was thinking of is that I think there's a difference in saying that you're gullible as versus that you're vulnerable.
Yeah, sure.
If
Absolutely.
it attacks something that is really important to you, you know, like the lover ones and stuff like
Mhm.
that. That I can see where people could be.
I just
really-
think that gullible kind of indicates that you're not capable.
No, I didn't mean it in that way at all.
But vulnerable, I think, describes not having the education that's current with the.
Right, and you don't have anybody back up for you at the house or something, yes, to ask questions, all that. You're absolutely
So do you
right.
see this more often in emails or texts or phone calls? Is there?
For which one? For the job? So the job offer is usually someone actually looking for a job. It's pretty rare. You might see it like, have you ever been on YouTube and you see the ads like, work from home, make $500? And those sometimes are legitimate, sometimes they're scams, because there are legitimate ways to work from home, but the main thing is look for some of these red flags like, hey, yes, Middle Eastern man, I want to work for you. And that's usually what it is whenever you call these numbers. And we had one the other day. Christine sent me an email that they had gotten. That it was a really bad fake email, but I called the phone number. So I always like to mess with the scammers. And any minute I take away from them, they're not messing with somebody else, right? So I call them, and I call this guy, and I'm like, he's like, Social Security Administration Office. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I got an email from you with the case number. And he was like, well, what's the case number? And so I give him the case number, and he was like, oh, what is your name? And I was like, well, you have the case number pulled up. What's my name? And I messed with them for a couple of minutes just to have a little bit of fun with them. But yeah, so they're pretending to be the Social Security Administration. They're pretending to be all these things. So, and then we already kind of talked about this. Once you've cashed out the check and you've spent the money and sent it to them, you think you still have $5,000 in there, but the whole check's going to get reversed, right? You're on the hook for that whole amount. And a lot of times it can take up to 90 days to catch that. And so during those 90 days, you're working, you're booking it. So you got $40,000, $50,000 in your bank account now
So
from.
they can still take it out then, even if it's past?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll do a reversal, and we've seen some where people's accounts are $240,000, $250,000 negative. And I mean, it's devastating because you didn't have, the whole reason you're working is because you needed that money. And so it's terrible. Worst people in the world, scammers. So verify the job, Google the employer. So if you go to, now Indeed has the actual name of the employer on every posting. If everyone's going to have an employer, Google it and see if they're actually hiring. Don't do it through LinkedIn or through whatever. Go to their LinkedIn page and contact their CEO or contact their HR department if it's a bigger company. Yeah. So don't do it through the job sites. Do it through actually doing it. Yeah, the legitimate owner. And then check Better Business Bureau. So if it says, I looked yesterday just to kind of refresh on it, and there was some that had like Chinese names that are local, and I Google them, and there's no company. And so I reported like 12 different ads on LinkedIn, on Indeed yesterday. So I had a blast. That's what I do in my spare time. I just report malicious posts. So don't trust unsolicited offers. So if you get a phone call saying, "Hey, we saw you were looking for jobs," and a lot of times on LinkedIn, you can flag yourself as looking for a job, and you can pay a premium price to show up on job searches. And they're like, "Hey, you tick all of our boxes. We'd really love to hire you." And that's where you would start seeing some of the unsolicited phone conversations. So check with your bank if you're in that situation and you think it's legitimate and you've gone through all these other checks and they're like, "Well, I got this check to deposit it." Check with the bank, and if you ask your bank to check, they'll actually call the bank that it's from, and so they'll verify it that way. And they'll be like, "Look, this person is an elderly person who spends $1,500 a month. They don't hire people," and they'll kind of do some due diligence there. So marketplace scams. Everyone familiar with Facebook Marketplace? So Facebook Marketplace is just an add-on to Facebook, which is the biggest social media site, and you can sell things back and forth to local people. Well, now you can buy on Marketplace. This has been for a couple of years now. You can buy from anywhere in the United States and then get shipping to you just like you could on eBay back in the day. We'll talk about advance payment and then overpayment scams as well. So the advance payment is when they want you to pay up front for an item, but they don't even have the item. So usually these are discounted items. So the big one we've seen lately is fishing reels. And I didn't realize that there was that big of a market for fishing reels, but you see, and some of these fishing reels are crazy expensive. Yeah, so this guy was like, this guy was selling $1,500 reels for $350. So he bought a reel, a depth finder, all these fishing supplies, but this guy never had them. And we actually ended up catching that guy. He was in Dallas, but yeah, so, and then overpayment scams, if you're selling an item. So let's say you're selling an item for $100 and you're gonna offer shipping. Well, I'll send it to you, but I sent you $1,000 on accident. Yeah, so send me the rest back. And then yeah, so there's nothing. And usually they'll say, hey, send me with a gift card. Well, their payment method was fraud that they sent it to. It was either someone else's Cash App or someone else's Venmo.
And by the way, the gentleman, Brad Hoover with American Bank, did say wire transfer was one of the worst because
It
then
is.
you can't, when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Kind of like a gift card.
Yeah.
It's like, once you've done that, then there's no getting it back, no tracking.
Yeah, and scammers are always looking for the hardest ways to get refunds.
The easy way.
The hardest way for us to refund the money back, right? So if it goes to another bank, there's a good chance you're going to get the money back. If you scratched off a gift card and gave them that number, there's hardly any chance that it's coming back. So some of the protections for these are meet in person. So the PD at 31st and Pine, 3115 Pine, we have designated marketplace parking spots. They're marked blue. And you can park there and meet in person, and you're on camera, and the transaction's recorded, and so we can get license plate, the person, and everything. So if something goes wrong, you're there. You have proof. You have proof, and it happened right under our noses. But it's pretty rare that someone would go to the police department to commit a scam. I mean, so I really recommend going there, and I've done it several times. I've just gone out from my office with an item and sold it in the parking lot. So it's a really good tool, and I would encourage y'all to use that.
I'm glad you guys thought of that.
Yeah, it was a great idea. So I don't know, I didn't think of it personally, but it's great.
Perfect venue.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, and we just have 2 cameras, one on each side, and we can record all the transactions that happen there. So it's good. People use it all the time. So, and I think it came from, so we did it for child custody because so we have child custody spots, we're designated spots for child custody releases. And so I think that's kind of where the idea came from, but it just, with Facebook Marketplace, we were getting so many scams and, getting forged money, getting shorted, getting swindled, whatever, in person, so.
Do y'all advertise that? I didn't know.
Yeah, it's on our website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, yeah.
And we did a press release this was like 2 years ago, I think, when we opened them. We did a press release on it.
When you say it's blue spaces, it's blue stripe or red?
Correct, yeah, so like all our stripes are yellow, except for those 6 parking spots, they all have the blue stripes, so.
Low IQ drug dealers.
Yeah, we need to do that. We need to do, hey, if you're selling drugs, come to the police department, do it, or have the green parking spaces for that. Hey, you can try it. One of the ways, whenever I first started, one of the ways we would catch bad guys is we'd call them and tell them they won a sweepstakes. And so we'd be like, we had an off-site location. Our family violence unit was in the Wells Fargo building downtown. And so we'd be like, you won a sweepstakes, you need to come to Wells Fargo and claim it. And they would show up and click, en route to jail. Yeah. So maybe we might have started some of these scams. I hope not. But so here's your line, Nancy.
Yep.
If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
I read that a long time ago, and I use it as my mantra.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
I'm a cynic, I really am. Still get taken.
So now we're kind of moving into cybersecurity. And if there's questions about any of these scams or y'all want to dive into any of them, let me know. We can go further. Or I can tell war stories or whatever y'all want. So we're going to talk about some common cyber threats that we're seeing, protecting your personal information online and also on your phone, safe online practices, and then some resources and support that I've found. So Christine's favorite part here.
Which one?
Phishing, smishing, vishing. We're going to dive in and we'll explain what those are. Malware, identity theft, and then weak passwords. These are some of the vulnerabilities that we see. So phishing, what is it? Well, it's anytime someone tries to obtain your information through an email or through digital messaging, like a instant message service, something like that. So usually how it works is the attackers will send you an email. It's usually something like an Amazon package is ready to be picked up, but we had trouble delivering it. Click on this link. And so what they're trying to do is get your account logged into Amazon, right? Because if they have your Amazon login, you can buy anything in the world from Amazon. So they'll send you an email. It'll have a link. It'll look just like Amazon, but you're actually on their website, and the information you're typing in, they're recording. Oh, she's got a handout related to this. Yeah. And it's funny because I built this presentation, and then she gave me the handout, and it's very similar on how it's structured. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, bring it. Yeah, you click on the link, you go to their website, and they're recording your keystrokes. And so you put in matt@wacotx.gov and put in your password, and now they have your password. Yeah, yeah. So they have it all stored then.
What is the fake email? Is it telling you need to log into your account, or you?
Yeah, so they'll say like, you have a package that we're trying to deliver, and it'll look legitimate from Amazon, and it'll be like amazonworks@gmail.com, and so it'll look legitimate at first glance if you don't really look at it. And they'll say, you have a package delivery, which all of us always have Amazon packages coming in. And then it'll say, click on this link to resend the order or to set up a new delivery date or something along those lines, something to just get you to click that link. Yeah. And so it's usually, there's a problem delivering your package. We couldn't find your address. It could be a number of things. Anything they can do to solicit you to click that link. And then they'll say, it'll look like Amazon.com that you went to, but it's actually some crazy website. And then once you try to type in your Amazon information, it's going to their website instead of to Amazon. And a lot of times if you've clicked on one of these links, so I like to do this in a test environment. So I have a virtual computer and I can go and I can click on all these links and do all this malicious stuff. But a lot of times when you put on your information, it'll say invalid username, invalid login. And you'll try and you can't get it right. Well, now they have every iteration of your password that you've ever used because you tried to log in with all of these. So now they know, like a lot of people use a system where they'll use their kid's name and then a number and then a special character. And then they'll just, if they have to change every 30 days, they change that special character, Well, now they have your pattern. Now they know how you create your passwords, which is even worse than just having a password. And yeah, and so those links are terrible, and that's why all our IT people are crazy about links.
It's too bad they're not doing something legal.
I know, right? If they put their creativity to good use, our world would be better for sure. So the spear phishing is just targeting you in particular instead of targeting a group. So we get a lot of emails on our domain at the PD that they're trying to get our information because we have a lot of information if somebody clicks on a malicious link. Spear phishing is like targeting an individual. So it's saying like, I'm targeting Nancy, I'm targeting Christine. And then clone phishing is just like, you send a legitimate invoice out, and we see this a lot. So M. Lipsitz, they have a company that sells precious metals in another town, and they fell victim to this because they sent out an invoice to buy precious metals, and someone else cloned their email and sent out they had the invoice looked exactly the same, sent it to them, and they sent money to get the precious metals, and it was fraudulent. So bank scams this is pretty common where it's, hey, there's an unauthorized charge on your bank account. Click on this link to verify or to confirm it. We get those a lot, and those can be phishing or what we're about to talk about, smishing as well. Online services, so this is the most popular one we see by far is the Amazon. So we have Amazon's trying to deliver a package, we can't get to your house or we're having trouble with whatever, click on this link. And then work-related scams, if you're at work and you'll have something that looks like something you solicited, but it's not, it's from a scammer. So how do we recognize it? An unfamiliar sender? So like a lot of organizations now, like if we get an email, there's a big banner across the top that says, this is from outside your organization. Be careful with any links. And so that's a good safety measure if you're at work. Urgent language, so they're always going to be like, we need this immediate action. Something bad's going to happen if you don't do X in a certain amount of time. Suspicious link, so I think I have this in the tips later, but if you hover over a link, I can make a link say anything. So I can make a hyperlink that says, click here, and it actually goes to baddie URL, steal your data URL that you're not going to. But if you hover over the link with your mouse, you can see where it's actually going to send you. So if it says Amazon.com and you click on it, it's not going to go to Amazon.com, right? But if you hover over the mouse, it'll say it's sending you to badguy.com or whatever. So hovering over the link before you click on it is a really good idea.
Is that something that you can only do, you can't do that on a cell phone, right? You have to be on a computer with a mouse to.
So do you have an iPhone or an Android? Android? I'm not 100% sure with Android, but like with iPhone, you can hold down the link and it'll say where the link's going to, and it'll have a link direct. I'm sure there's something similar with Android. You're far less susceptible though to put in, I mean, I think, I don't know, maybe not, but yeah, I'm sure Android has a way to, if you just hold down the link.
I'm trying to find something, somebody sent me a link, so we can.
Here, I can text you, I'll text you a link. Let's see. Let's see what you see. Did you get it? Oh.
Oh, yeah, no, well, I wasn't sure which one, okay.
Try hovering over that and see.
Oh, but this is an iPhone. The other number-
Oh my goodness, Christine.
The other number.
The other number. What's the first three? See, I'm fishing for information right now.
Oh, my gosh. 709, 254-709.
All right. Oh, I just called you.
Oh,
Anyways,
there it is. Okay, so let's open it up.
you should just be able to long press on it, and I think.
Oh, I can't even open it. What am I doing?
I don't know.
Okay. Is that
It's not
you?
even showing.
It's not showing up even. You texted it to me, right?
Yeah.
Here you go.
What is
Or you
that?
can just go to your email and just open up anything with a link on your email and see if it'll do it.
I'm
that
wondering
way.
if your
Where'd it
phone
go?
marked it as spam or something.
Well, I
Because
just put
it
a. I
popped
put a.
up, and now it's not. There's
Now it's
nothing
gone.
there. Wait.
Mm.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, I sent you a virus, so
Yeah,
I'm
it just-
sorry.
Oh, you saw it too, though, did
Yeah,
you
it
not?
popped up.
Okay, I'm not. It did pop. It's not there. Okay.
Huh.
I don't know. I'll find
So
something.
I'll check on
Continue.
that. Yeah, I'll check.
I'll let you know when.
Yeah,
I
find an email and see if you have a link that,
Okay.
or do that Dropbox link I sent you yesterday,
Oh, okay.
because that's a long URL that'll be.
That is a long one.
Yeah. So we were on suspicious link. So like a generic greeting, it won't have your name usually in these because they don't really know who you are. They're just trying to target you. It'll say, "Dear customer," and then these you'll look for a lot of grammatical errors because usually it's someone overseas that's sending these emails, and so they'll have bad grammar or it looks like they copy and pasted it out of like a translated from their native language to English. So a lot of times though, it's kind of a double-edged sword because they use grammatical errors intentionally. And so they're trying to they know that if you didn't catch a grammar error, you're more susceptible to be scammed, right? Because you're not as diligent and you're not as visual. So that can be a tool for them as well. So this is what we're talking about. Verify the sender, make sure the email address matches. We had a lawyer in town actually who got his practices, they stole his practice's email address, and they put his full, I don't want to say his name, but they put his name at Yahoo, his name at his website .com.gmail.com.
Oh.
And so it was his legitimate website, it was his legitimate, even the .com, and then they just added Gmail at the end. And so they were actually soliciting people for legal advice, charging them, and he was getting bad reviews on his bar card, and he was like, "I've never even worked with these people." And so I mean, verify that the email, so you can add things, right? So you can put .com.gmail on your actual email addresses, and so verify that that's correct. And then again, hover over the links. Be skeptical of attachments. If you see an email, if you get an email that's particularly, it's got the little paper clip if there's an attachment. So if you got a weird person that you don't know sending you an email with an attachment, most of the time you can just delete that because it's not going to be anything that's going to benefit you. And then spam filters. Most email services now are doing this by default, having some type of spam filter where you have a spam folder that spam emails will go into. And if you do see something like that, flag it as spam. then next time it won't come to you.
Oh, another message I've been seeing on emails is, do you trust the sender?
Yeah. So they're starting to solicit that a lot. And now, if I delete a text message, it'll say delete, and report junk. And then once you start doing that, there's a website you can go to actually track that and see how many times that sender's been reported as fraud or a scam or as junk. So yes, ma'am.
Question.
Sure.
You said, okay, I get a lot of messages and just automatically go to spam.
Mhm.
And then I go to spam, and if I click on them, will that do damage to me, or just delete all of them?
No, so what's cool is what do you use, Gmail? Yahoo? Gmail?
Yeah.
So if you're using Gmail, Yahoo, any of the big ones, iCloud, if something's in your spam folder, it deactivates all the links. So so once it's in your spam folder, all the links, you can't even click on them. So you're good if you want to read them and review them and make sure that it didn't.
Sometimes I'm interested, like, oh, this is crazy.
It's fun. It is intriguing. But yeah, just be careful. If it's in your spam folder, though, the links should be
Well,
deactivated.
it's usually generally a title or something I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
And that seems legitimate, at least looking at it, so.
Yeah.
And I hardly ever get into them because I don't have the time.
It takes a lot of time. I get so many crazy emails. It's crazy.
If anybody wants to know about the droid and the hovering thing, it's like, I'm not getting it.
Well, it's not a messenger.
Oh, yeah, that was on Messenger. Would it be the same on Messenger?
I would think so.
So if you want to know more about that, let's not take away from what we're doing, but hang around and we'll look at this, because I'm going to have Sergeant McCallister look at this, because it just keeps opening every time I try and do it.
Okay.
You know, I think that urgency thing, it even tripped up someone like me with, your account's been hacked, you need to do this, it's just that.
Yeah, the hair on the back of your neck stands up, and you're like, oh no, I've got to take immediate action.
Suck money out of my account, and that would.
Yeah, it does.
It has been, and then they get you, and it's like Tar Baby, they don't let you.
Yeah. I mean, everyone with a credit card probably has had some type of weird charge show up that you had to contest and report. So when you see those notifications, it's not unusual that something could have happened, right? I mean, some vendor somewhere put in the number wrong, and it went to your account. And so that's why they do it, because it works. I mean, the sense of urgency is huge. Or I don't have it in this presentation, but in my normal one that's just on fraud, we talk about the grandparent scam, and that's a huge one. So they're using AI to clone your kid's voice that they ripped off of Facebook. And so you're having a conversation with your grandkid, and they're saying, Grandma, I am in Mexican jail, and they're going to do bad things to me if I don't get money. And you talk about a sense of urgency. That's your grandbaby that's calling you. And
Thought of AI to copy a voice, but yeah, if you post videos, voice.
Yeah, they can rip that voice right off. Wow. And I started to do that, but I didn't have time to do that on your voice, Christine. I'm sorry. I failed you. I apologize. So we did it. Christine and I did a news, information. I don't know. We did a news story together, and she talked for a pretty good part in there where there was no background noise. And I was going to do an AI where I ripped her voice and made her solicit me for money, but I didn't have time to do it. But. Huh?
She'd have to report you to the police.
I know. Well, I had consent, so I have the text messages to back it up. So, yes, ma'am.
Talking about the AI voice, is the AI voice good enough to get through some of the places that do use voice verification as a secondary login?
So it used to be. But so what we're doing now is using AI to counter AI. So if I write a paper using AI now, I can do an AI check. And there's certain characteristics of AI that it'll pick up on. So there'll be a small little click, there'll be a small difference in the voice, and we're using AI to combat AI to battle. They're battling each other out, whoever has the better AI. So if you're using if you're doing what we call a deep fake, where you've spent a lot of time on it and you have it perfected, it's going to be very hard to tell the difference.
Are you still going to do the other thing with the phone call?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking perhaps you're meaning, like, when I call into an account somewhere, and they say, well, checked your voice and it matches. Is that what that could be a fake, or was that what you were
That's what
asking?
I'm talking
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it depends on how sophisticated their system is.
Right.
So if they just have the old system where there's no AI involved at all, it's going to trick it. I mean, it's going to verify as you biometrically. I mean, just like the old days of, the spies putting on your fingerprint and going into the bank vault. It's very, I mean, it's realistic. It's very, very, yeah, it works. So it would work in that situation. But it depends on how updated their software is.
Right, if it's a company, I imagine, that does millions of dollars, I mean, or Fidelity, that's what
Sure.
I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, Fidelity, yeah, for
Fidelity,
sure.
right.
Now, if you're going to a small credit union, they might not be able to
Right.
afford that.
Right.
Of course, a lot of those they know you, right? Like they're going to talk to you like, how's the kids doing? How are you? so there's pros and cons to both, I guess. So if you're with a big bank, they're not going to know you personally, but they're going to have better security. So, yeah, it just depends. Smishing, so this is Christine's absolute favorite word, I think. So when you send a text message, that's what we call as SMS messaging. That's short message service messaging. That's a text message. So they took the word phishing and put it with smishing. And so SMS messaging, phishing for your information is basically how, if you want to remember it, it's not really important that you remember it. It's just kind of saying that it's the same thing as phishing, but it's via text message. I'm sure we've all gotten those text messages that are like the same thing. Amazon package failed to deliver, or, or it can even be, hey, vote now, your candidate needs your help. Click on this link to see when this rally is. And you click on that link and it's a malicious link. Anything they can do to make you want to click on a link. Yes, ma'am.
Along that same line, when you said candidate, if I made a donation, would they do that? That could be the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And they did a good track on the charity, was it 4 weeks ago?
Well, I'm talking political. We're through with that crap.
Thank God it's over, right? Oh man, the ads were crazy.
So how many people here at the fake text message from USPS or FedEx? 'Cause I've had several.
Oh, I get them all the time, all the time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what would happen if I clicked on the link.
So it's going to go to a site that'll ask for a login, usually. And it'll usually look like USPS. It'll just have their logo in the corner and it'll say account login. And they usually just screenshot that and then put in the text fields. And then they're trying to fish for information as well. So sometimes sometimes they're really terrible and they'll look like Amazon, but you clicked on a FedEx link. And I mean,
So they're gonna try to try and log in over and over, get your email address, get your variations of all your different.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we've all done that, right? You go to a site and you're like, man, when do I change my password? Oh, let me try this one. Let me try this one.
Special character. Now,
Yeah.
wait a minute, I have the same one and I just changed this.
Yeah, change. That's what a lot of people do. Yeah. So, but it's the same thing. They're trying to get you to click on a malicious link is usually the end term, or steal your personal information, one of the two. And a lot of times, I'm trying to think of the company that did it, but anyways, a company will send you saying, hey, we had a data breach and we lost your information. We just need you to re-verify your information. And these are usually weird questions, like secret question answers. Like, we just need to verify your childhood friend, the house you grew up on. And just weird questions that like a banker, a business isn't going to legitimately ask you, right? They're trying to get phishing questions because they already have some of your information, but they can't quite get into your account because you're secret question answers. And so those are more where we get into what we call the spear phishing, where they're specifically targeting you and they're trying to get your information.
That's like on Facebook, I realized you have to be careful. I had to post a picture of my first car, and here's my first car, a Toyota. Here's my pet dog, and 'cause those are questions. What's the name of your first pet dog? What model was your first car?
Yeah.
It's like, you gotta be careful what you're posting.
Yeah, and what your secret questions are. Yeah. Yeah, it is scary.
Do you think they can tap into, what he's talking about, UPS? I can remember going to Kerrville to take care of my dad, who was in the hospital. And I had to send packages out to different areas. And some of the packages I sent, I would get these text messages that would tell me that they hadn't been delivered. And I thought, how in the world did they get that information? Like,
Yeah.
because I did check with the people that, because I thought, well, maybe I sent it because I was exhausted or whatever. Maybe I put the wrong address or the wrong suite number or whatever. But I was trying to figure out how in the world did they get that information. Then I thought, well, maybe somehow they're able to hack into UPS or our postal services or something like that.
So I'll break it down easier. Unsecured Wi-Fi is usually the culprit of that.
Okay.
So I'm at Starbucks and I'm using their Wi-Fi and I'm doing my email. Well, there's something called a man-in-the-middle attack. And I didn't really put this in my presentation. It's kind of above and beyond what I was going to do. But so you're connected to a router, I'm connected to a router. Well, I can go in there and there's a software called Adam and Eve. I can go in there and I can be a middleman and I can be intercepting all the data that you're sending to the router. And you have no notification that I'm doing that. And so a lot of times that could be what it is. You actually have a physical person there that's actually stealing your data there.
I was in the hospital. I was
Yeah, so you're on
spending
public
the night in the
Wi-Fi.
hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where they were getting.
So you're there visiting family, someone's there stealing your information. Yeah.
You protect against that.
Don't use public Wi-Fi is the best way. Yeah.
What's that? Don't use public Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I mean, that's the best, that's the simplest way. But
Wow.
I hate to say this, guys, but somebody just brought to my attention, it's almost time for this class to be over. And
Oh,
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
even know if we're halfway through.
I'm sorry, I talk too much. I could be here for,
I mean, I think this has been great, hasn't it? I mean, good information, good exchange, good sharing. If I know already at least, I started to say doctor, Detective McCallister.
I got promoted. Hopefully that'll be reflected on my next paycheck.
And you'd like a salary too.
Yeah. Well, is this a scam? I just got hired. I just got immediately. No.
So we are okay staying longer if y'all can. If you can't, I certainly understand. It is up to you. Does anybody need to leave? Do you have tight time restraints?
I apologize, guys. I tried to.
No, please. I mean, hasn't it been awesome, right? I mean, that's
Well,
really
these are
good.
all questions everybody's participating in.
Yeah, so if everybody's okay to stay, that's fine. If somebody needs to leave, let me know. And we typically draw, for the door prize at the end, but I can let you know if you win later. But if y'all are good, let's just keep going, because this is.
Are you good? Everybody good?
Okay.
No, keep talking. It was good. I enjoyed the talking.
I don't want to spend another hour or whatever.
It's probably 15. I'm on 31 of 57, so I don't. So I can abbreviate some of this though if you want me to. So unknown numbers, urgent language, again, you're going to see that on all of these, urgent language and requesting personal information and then trying to get you to click on that link. And these are kind of the same ones. The package delivery one is the one that I think everybody gets because everyone's always ordering a package, especially with Amazon now, right? So don't click on links, don't provide personal information, verify who it's coming from, verify that phone number that it's someone you know. And there are security software. I didn't really put anything on there specific about the software, but monitoring software that'll monitor for suspicious links on your phone. And then phishing, this is the same thing, but it's via phone call. So I'm calling you looking for the information. Yeah.
I had a phone call today, exactly. Came in with like Paula Prentice type of thing, but a man answered it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So right there, I'm thinking.
Red flag.
Yes, thank you. Your voice had changed, but anyway, and then, but anyways, I said, I don't know you, and you came under this, so I'm not talking to you, and goodbye. But that's what we're talking, right there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Good, good, good. I thought I was done.
So and these are pretty much the same thing for the most part. The only thing that really is added with this is the government scam. So with COVID, we had a lot of law enforcement impersonations. So they're calling you saying, hey, due to COVID, we're not taking people to jail, but I have a warrant out for you. And they'll use a real law enforcement officer's name. They'll use real, and they'll say, hey, you need to go here and pay bond. So.
And then why didn't you call me earlier? I mean, I started arguing with them.
Give them the what for.
Well,
So this one is the unsolicited phone call, urgent language again, requesting personal information that you wouldn't normally give out on the phone, and then threats or promises, and this is where your story kind of came in. They're threatening you, if you don't do this, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. You're going to lose your account. You're going to lose a loved one. I'm going to do something bad. So here it's verify the caller. Don't share your personal information. Use call blocking software and report it as, like I said, even just reporting it as junk, it just takes a second. Instead of hitting delete, hit delete and report as junk. And then that way that number's flagged that it's not, you didn't want that contact. Even if it's not a scam, you don't want that contact.
Does when you block it, you do the same thing?
Yeah, so usually when you block, you can block and report or block and mark as
I don't
junk.
usually do report, I just block.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is up to you what you want to do, but
Well, I don't know.
yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Which better?
I like to report it because then they show up on a website. So
Okay.
that way we can say if one person blocks them and reports them, it's not going to beat anything. But if you've got 5,000 people that have blocked and reported them, it's a red flag. So, and that helps us too when we start looking at the analytics for phone numbers. So malware is just short for malicious software. So this is a bad guy trying to put something on your phone or on your computer that you don't want that's going to do bad things. So that can be listen to your phone calls, that can be send you to a malicious site, it can be take over control of your computer, it can look at your web browsing history depending on what type of software it is. But any type of malicious software falls under the category of malware. And I won't really go over these that much, but viruses, basically that's just them spreading. Worms are going to spread to different vulnerabilities in your computer. Trojans are going to be something that looks like your Facebook login, but when you click on it, it installs something that's not Facebook. And then spyware monitors and collects your information. And adware is just they make money just by every time there's an ad played, they're making like 5 cents, whatever, every time you play an ad. And it's just popping up all constantly on your phone. So use antivirus. Update your software regularly. That's the biggest thing I would say is when you get an iOS update or an Android update, put it in there because usually there's some vulnerability in the phone that it's fixed with that software update. So keep up to date. Use strong passwords. That's a huge one too. Don't put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something like that. Sorry if I dimed anybody's password out. I usually have someone gasp when I say a password in a class. So we'll kind of go through this quickly. Identity theft is just someone using your information without your consent. So then this can be financial fraud, medical fraud, and then in April we get a huge spike of tax return frauds.
I have actually had all three of those.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
You got the trifecta.
Something. I don't know. So yes, the IRS would not let me file my tax return using like Tax Act or whatever, right? Because they had recognized that somebody had already filed a tax return under my name and all like that, and so I had to mail it and everything. And then earlier this year, my bank sent me something saying that they had had a data breach, and they were offering a year's worth of identity theft protection through a company called IDX. And then a few months later, just even a couple of months ago, from our insurance company at work, said, we've had a data breach. We're offering you 2 years of identity theft protection through IDX because we've had this data breach. So I've actually experienced all three of those recently.
But are those things they're offering, are those legit?
Well, and I did reach out to make sure that they were, and I have talked to the people at the company, yes.
Thank you.
And IDX.
Yep. Did you get one of those?
So some of the ways you can know if you were a victim of ID theft is unexpected bills coming to your house, credit report changes. Does everyone have credit monitoring some type of credit monitoring? That's good. Discrepancies in your bank, so you go to balance your checkbook or look at I should have $200 in my account and I have $0, something's going on there. And then missing mail, so if you're not getting if you get bank statements mailed to you and you're not getting them anymore, that could be a sign that someone has stolen your identity.
When sometimes like they'll let you know that, hey, you can check your credit score or your credit score's gone up a point or whatever. But then sometimes they'll put a caution in there and they'll say that you're now on the deep dark web.
Ooh, I never saw
I haven't seen that. That's interesting. Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I would recommend bank somewhere that monitors your credit for free. So most places, if you have a checking and savings account, they'll do some type of free credit monitoring. Like I use Chase, and it alerts me every time there's a point change. So it goes from like 3 to 2 to 3 to 2 to 3 to 2. It'll tell you every time there's a change. So it's as live as I think you can get.
Well, they don't want you to be the victim, because that's bad for them.
They're losing money when I'm the victim, right? Especially if it's their data breach or they're somehow responsible. So monitor your accounts, review your credit reports, shred documents that have personal information. Don't just put them in the trash, because people do steal your trash, which is crazy. But use strong passwords so they're harder to break, and don't use the same password across multiple accounts. And then two-factor authentication, that means when you log in, you can't just have your username and password to log in. So that means I get a text message that gives me a code. Yeah, you have to enter something else, or you have an app that gives you a code. So if you're a victim of identity theft, report to authorities. You can do that locally, and we'll direct you to how to do it at the FTC. We do it all the time there. You can just come to the police department, and it's usually me or one of my guys. I supervise 8 detectives, so one of us will come down and help you there. Huh?
Do you get many reports from people of identity theft?
Oh, yes, constantly. Constantly. I would say probably 5 to 6 a day come in. And a lot of times it doesn't generate a report, but what happens is we refer them to the FTC. So if you just think you're data breach and you're not out any monetary loss, we usually don't do an actual police report, but we'll refer you to the FTC and you become part of that. So, yeah. Fraud alerts, monitor your accounts, and notify your financial institutions.
And Sergeant McCallister does have his cards over there with his information,
Yep.
because he said, to report it, and so his cards are there. You can pick up one of his cards.
Yep. So why a weak password is bad? It's easy to guess, and then like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a super easy password to guess, and they're susceptible to brute force attacks. So when I was in digital forensics, we have tools that can go and just try passwords over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it's called brute forcing, is what we call that. And so it can be a smart brute force, or it can just be a 00000000001000002 and go the whole way up through, all million possibilities on a 6-digit password. And that's one of the automated tools that I'm talking about here. And then be vulnerable to dictionary attacks. So if I know your daughter's name is Kelsey, I can put Kelsey and then XXX, and then that'll fill in with numbers. So it'll be more specific. It narrows it down a lot. A lot of people use their birth date or a loved one's birth date as part of their password, and so we can put that in there and focus down more on the attack. So this is how long it takes. This is 2022 stats when I left the computer lab. This is how long it took us to crack passwords. So if it was... 92 billion years to a 16 character with numbers, uppercase, lowercase, letters, and symbols. So I always tell people, I underlined on this chart, the 5 months is where you want to be, and then change your password every 3 months. And so that way, you're always going to have a pretty secure password. Now, people could get lucky and guess it earlier in this cycle, but this is to try every iteration of these passwords with software that I had when I was in the lab.
So you're saying that the hackers have software to guess passwords?
Absolutely, yeah.
And they're not expensive, I guess.
Well, if you're good at coding, you can just code your own and make your own. And that's what most people do, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a good idea to use just like real words that you wouldn't combine in that way, like maybe armadillo 56 telephone pole?
You sure?
Something just like totally random. I can't see how people could figure that out.
Right, yeah, absolutely. So I would caution from using real words, because then you do something called a dictionary attack, and you just go down the dictionary and use those words. So instead of if you use telephone pole, replace the E's with 3s. Something like that, to where it looks like an E and you can remember it when you're typing it in. Because the key is, if you're writing down your password, then you have physical security issues, right? Because then someone is going to see your list of passwords that you have. So a password you can remember, about 10 characters long, and then special character and numbers in there as well. So, and if you're replacing numbers, that's the hardest to guess, because if you have telephone pole even as a word, and you have T, 3, L, 3, P, H, and then the number 0, and replace characters that look like letters with numbers, that would make it way more secure. So mix of characters, avoid common words, length matters. So I mean, they say 12 to 16. I think if you go at 10 to 12 is probably optimal. That way you can remember it and use it. And then unique for each account. So these are the general red flags. As we were going through, I had some red flags up there. If someone's asking for gift cards as payment or cryptocurrency as payment, it's a huge red flag. The urgency to act, that's across the board on every scam in every situation. They want it immediately. A lot of times they don't even want you to hang up the phone with them while they're if they get you on the phone. If they're asking you to mail U.S. currency or use a weird delivery method, send something to another state. And then Nancy's favorite line there, too good to be true offers, right? I have a fun video. Do y'all want to watch it or do y'all want to cut it, skip it? Okay. So what I did is, this is a YouTube video, but it's an artificial intelligence video, and it's going to have a real image, a real video, and an AI video that was created by artificial intelligence, no cameras used, and see if you can tell the difference. And I think there's 8 examples here, and it's just kind of a fun video. It doesn't really.
First video, Amalfi Coast. Which one's real? Which one's AI?
Oh, pause
Is
it.
that drone view working in a church?
Okay, what do y'all think? Which one?
Who says left?
Is real or fake?
All right, who says left is AI?
It looks so pretty.
Who says right is AI? All right, why do you think it's right?
I think just because it doesn't look real.
Okay.
Which one's AI? If you said the video on the right,
Ding, ding, ding.
how can you tell? The water looks really weird. Next up, we've got an art gallery. We're kind of flying through it here.
What do
I
y'all
think
think?
the left one's AI.
I think so too.
More ambiguous.
It's so shiny.
Right.
And then,
Which is real? Which is AI? You said right for the art gallery. There's but they're off.
So-
But then they're also somehow lighting up the artwork. I don't know. Next up, a nice drone view of Big Sur. Can you spot the AI?
Right.
Right, the water's not moving.
he's
We
got
think-
that smile.
That's why I don't play poker, y'all.
Image was generated by AI, you would be correct. How did you tell? Look at these t-shirts.
I have not got it.
Scary, right?
Yeah, it is.
Next, Borneo wildlife. Can you tell which video is real, which one's AI?
What do y'all think?
Birds
They're
don't
right.
sit so still.
Right, and then what kind of bird is that?
A pair of
And to be fair, I think this is
toucans.
If you said the video on the left was generated by AI, you would be correct. Take a look at the bird.
Got it.
Too big. Detail lacking.
Yeah.
Just kind of like a 3D
It
render.
almost looks like a puppet or something.
Yeah.
I think that's the
Next
one I
up,
got right.
2 videos of cars shot by drones. Which is real? Which is AI?
They both look like video games to me. Neither one of them look real.
The left one, maybe? You're so sure.
I know. I was really bad as well.
If on the right was AI, you would be correct. Telltale signs? AI doesn't do text all that well yet. This apparently is a Danover car, which Zach told me is based on a Land Rover car. So Land Rover became Danover. Oh,
Wow.
Next,
would
we've
never
got cats
guess.
with people. Which is real? Which is AI?
Left, obviously.
If you said the video on the left was generated by AI, you are correct.
Look at his paw, and the paw,
AI doesn't do facial features.
and the second paw up here.
Watch the cat paw.
All the time. Also, the cat seems to be growing an additional paw somewhere in the middle of the video. Which is real, which is AI.
The left is AI.
If you said the video on the left was generated by AI,
Good job. See, Nancy's got it down now. That's 3 in a row, isn't it?
something wrong with gravity in this scenario. Appears, disappears, goes up, or goes down. Just the physics of it don't feel completely accurate. Next up, Lunar New Year. Can you spot the AI?
This one I still, honestly, I cannot.
If you said the video on the right was generated by AI, you are correct. Details or little spaces in the background of videos, AI doesn't do all that well yet.
Oh, you
Some
can see
people
that on the
have blurs
projector.
or severe problems. Next up, a close-up of a human eye. Which is real? Which is AI? This one's really good.
Wow, she's got blush. I would say the one.
If you said the eye on the right was generated by AI, you're correct.
Because she
Also,
doesn't
props to you because this is one that I probably couldn't tell apart at first or even second glance because it's so good. When you give AI one thing to focus on and not a lot going on in the background, it does do a pretty good job. Scary good.
That's a scary good job.
That's interesting.
Next up, a close-up of a man. Which is real? Which is AI generated? If you said the video of the man on the right was generated by AI, you are correct. One of the ways that you can tell this is AI is that
I need his skin regimen right there, right? I mean, look at that. That's some smooth skin.
out, but a lot of times that happens in post anyway. This is really a good fake. If I'm going to point out anything, I think I'd look at his ear. It looks a little weird.
Yeah, you can
Oh,
see
it
that.
does look weird. I was looking at his forehead and everything. I'm like,
And his
Yeah.
crow's feet.
that, I know, that, I was looking at his face. Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? What AI can do.
An actor's neck anymore.
Yeah, just type in what you want into Copilot and go. So, how it's used in frauds, though, is this is how it's kind of related to this topic, is making fake documents. So I can tell AI, make a document that looks like an end user license agreement, and it'll, in seconds print it out. Automated phishing attacks, so you can just say what you want it to do, and it'll go. And then identity fraud, it helps in that way as well. And then social engineering, so it can go through huge data sets and see, hey, these are the responses. And we use AI all the time now for analyzing caseload and analyzing a lot of things. And it's so quick. Things that took us hours before, we're doing in minutes. And so,
Like algorithms, is it based on that or what?
yeah, so I can give it a data set of like our caseload and say, how many cases had this involved? And it'll instantly pop up. So like I had a call the other day, someone got hit by a broom and I needed to find the case, but we didn't have the victim's name or the case number. So I just put in, show me cases where a broom was used to commit an assault. And goes right to that case. So in that case it's wonderful, but in the other side, yeah, everything that saves time can be used maliciously too, though. So, and that's how they're using it for those situations.
I don't know why, but I'm focused on the fact somebody used a broom for assault.
Huh?
Yeah, I was just kind of focused on, I'm like, how many assaults do you see with a broom?
36 in the last 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have never guessed that was that common.
So,
I wonder by who, that's my next.
well, most of them are family members. Yeah. I didn't do the gender analytics on that, but I'll get back to you on that. So this kind of helps tend to show that AI was involved, is its unusual communication. It sounds right, but it's not like how we would converse. And then, yeah, a little bit different, a little bit skipped. So we'll skip. You want to skip it?
No, let's do it.
Okay. Go ahead and call me.
It doesn't matter which one, does it? No, wait, we said let's do this.
So I'm not going to advertise this app that I'm going to use, but it's a scary app as well. So a ported phone number is a phone number that's hosted currently by a carrier, by a cell phone carrier. Well, you can, any ported number, so Christine's calling me right now. Okay. So she's going to hang up.
Call has been forwarded to voicemail.
I forwarded her to voicemail because I'm rude.
Don't want to talk to you.
So using an app, it looks like she's calling me.
Wow.
The same profile, the same everything.
And I am not calling him.
And
see?
she's not calling me right now, I
am
promise.
not calling him. Well, that took like, what,
Well, I had it set up. I had it set up before, so.
Oh, yeah. No, we planned.
And so, I mean, you got to be very diligent, and don't trust the picture on your phone or the number that's calling you that it is real. Email spoofing is really very similar too. You can make it similar to how you can hide like a hyperlink and make it say something different. You can do that with an email. That takes very, very much more sophistication than just downloading an app on your phone. But so don't trust, verify, use, and then report them. And then check the email headers, be wary of unsolicited emails, and then report suspicious emails through your Gmail or Yahoo, whatever you're using. So the key takeaways: stay vigilant, proactive, and then I didn't put this in here, but urgency. If there's someone super urgent and pushy, it's like the old used car salesman. They're trying to scam you or do something, right? So, and then stay in touch. Keep reading updates, read news articles. You know, be in touch with what's going on. And then it's a continuous effort. Stay informed. And thank y'all so much for your attention and time. I appreciate it.
Excellent, excellent. So does anybody have any other questions?
I was horrible at it, but we were told,
See, you're too honest.
we were told to create a false sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Because they're gone. they're
Somebody
never
else
coming
wants
back,
this
so-
car, if you don't get it now, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
We do. I can't wait. Go ahead.
I have two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any dangers or drawbacks of using password managers?
Well, the only thing is if they get your password manager account information, then they got everything.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons. I mean, it's easier to remember and it's usually secure. But if they, for some reason, get physical access to your phone or figure out that password, then they've got all your passwords.
I use a VPN on my computer.
Yeah.
Are those effective for use on cellular devices too?
They are, yeah.
Okay. And is there any way to protect your assets that are stored in the cloud?
Like your cloud pictures and stuff? Or?
Well, if you have important documents and you put them on your Google Drive or you put them on your Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, if they're compromised, then your stuff's going to be compromised. So the only thing is, if you're using a big service, they use encryption. So if they steal your data, it's just unrecognizable text. So they're not going to be able to actually figure it out without your login. So I didn't really want to get too technical, but with encryption, there's something called SALT, is what they call it. And that's a combination of multiple things to create the encryption schema. And so what they'll do is they'll take your user ID and password and they'll use that as part of the encryption process. So even if they've hacked a system, your data is still safe because you have to have your username and login to decrypt the information. And that's that's dumbing it down a little bit, but that would be a long conversation. But yeah, so most of the time your data is encrypted and they might get some personal information that's outside the encryption schema, but your data for the most part in the cloud services are going to be safe.
That's something I wanted to share, and that is that there's so many accounts, and I try to use different passwords, and so I typed them up and printed it on a piece of paper, and thought, well, in case the computer's not working, I'll have it there. But I realized when that guy gets in the house,
he's got all your stuff. Oh no.
it's like, okay, so telephone pole was the main word, TP. The bad guy who steals my piece.
He's going to try to do TP.
And
Yeah, he's going to put in toilet paper, type up.
And then if you, when the door closes, I'll just call your email or something.
And I'll be here.
Yeah,
Next week, okay, yeah, so I can just bring it. All right. thank you so
absolutely. No, I'm with you.
So, I mean, I think this was awesome, wasn't it? And we could have gone longer, obviously, because he kind of
sorry,
fast forwarded through everything. But and it's not you, it was us, right? But it was good. We learned a lot.
Yeah, I'm just here for y'all, so I don't have an agenda. I'm not trying to sell you anything. If y'all have a question, I want to try to answer it as best I can. So,
right?
Are you really with the
act now.
And I think that's part of our problem, actually, because, when you think about how we've all been, like, tempted or whatever, not just our most vulnerable, I think it's because of the fast-paced world that we've created for ourselves that we live in. We don't take time. Like some of us are click happy. You know, it's like, you see, you do, blah, blah, you know, we got to respond, we got so much to do, and da, da, da. And so we don't slow down enough to think and look and, you know, that it may possibly not be legitimate or whatever. I mean, I think we're getting better, but they're also always getting better. They're always getting more creative in another way and another tactic, and right?
It's a tug and pull for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So I had my credit card stolen. It was at Walmart, supposedly, down in like Georgetown. I haven't been to Walmart in Georgetown. And it was like $1,300 I got. I got my money back because I keep one credit card with a low balance and I never let them increase it, a low limit. That's the one I use when I'm going anywhere. So she was like, oh no, they used your hard card. I said, no ma'am, they couldn't have. Well, who lives in your house? No ma'am, I'm telling you, nobody got my card. And how'd she get, so they just
Printed it.
them real quick?
Yeah.
They what?
So
They print them.
they print them, so you can print. So we're having actually a huge problem right now with Valero. So Valero is one of the last companies that have not gone to the SIM card on your card.
Oh.
And so they put a credit card skimmer in. They get your number and your expiration, and they've got everything. So we had actually 19th and Lakeshore right down the road had a skimmer. I got 2 of them out of their pumps probably 3-4 months ago, and I had 8 cases where they just smoked their cards, and it's all in the same 6 gas stations in San Antonio.
So do they have cameras in those parking lots or not? Like, can you actually see somebody putting one of those on it?
So technically you can, but the problem is you don't know how long they've been there, and so it's hard.
By
It's
the
very
time
hard to
you-
find when it happened. So.
Yeah.
This one I actually got video of the people. They were buying net spin cards, which are like prepaid Visa cards.
Oh, yeah.
They were buying those in San Antonio, and so I got video of them buying those cards. So we had to kind of, if we can't get them at the point of sale, we have to get them at the point of impact. So
Right.